And we are live. Hello, this is Francis Hedis. And today with Amy Schweim. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Francis. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, hello, everybody. Amy and I, we had an inspiring conversation a while ago because she goes into the mountains with people mountain biking, and that is where they really get to their limits. You know, when we want to work on ourselves and get better in different areas, usually we try to look nice or to look perfect or not to get like too messed up. But when you are out in the mountains, when you really exercise and when you really get to your physical limits, that's where transformation starts. Amy, tell us more about that. It sounds so exciting.
Thanks so much, Francis. Yeah, it is truly such a passion of mine, and for my work on the mountain bike, also a little element that I add into that is I offer these tours internationally. So I think on top of getting on the mountain bike, where you hit your limits, I think also being outside of your comfort zone of your home country and things like that really bring us there also. It's kind of a combination, right? So yeah, I mean, basically on the mountain bike, when you're chugging uphill for for hours, and there's all these obstacles in your way, and you're really working hard, and it's a love of mine, and of course I think the women that are drawn to the trips, they love mountain biking too, and I think we all, whether it's mountain biking or any sport, once we go and we push ourselves and we fatigue and we get to that point, that's where we kind of hit those limits, that edge, right? And what happens is I feel like it's a real beautiful opportunity, even though in the middle of it, it doesn't always feel like it, right? Because I think with growth and transformation, um, you kind of have to get to that place where it's uncomfortable, right? And that's really where the magic and the sweet spot happens. But what I find personally and what I witness often is when you get to those limits is a real an opportunity to see kind of what's, I call it, under the hood, and I refer to in your mind, and kind of those voices, those stories, those, sometimes I even call them gremlins, right? If you're chugging up a hill and you're pushing, 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 you're tired, and all of a sudden it's like you start to get these voices that sometimes could be harsh, right, on your performance or how you're feeling, and judgmental and things like that, and so I just feel like it really offers us an opportunity to observe, to build awareness with compassion, to see what's really there. And when we start to do that, that's really an empowering point, because I think when you start to get familiar with what those stories are, when you hit that limit and that edge, that's the point where you can say, gosh, is this really serving me, how I'm talking to myself? Is this really serving me, what's kind of what I'm letting play in my head? Or is it time to shift and change and, kind of reprogram that? So I just love it. I think it's, as humans, we're constantly evolving and growing naturally, but we can also we can, how do you say, like, put ourselves in different experiences to really kind of deepen that growth, right? And I think that's why I'm so drawn to travel, and I'm drawn to, I live for mountain bike, and I just love it. It's, yeah.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's situations with your family where you really have to transform or just be patient in the moment. Sometimes
Absolutely.
there are situations in business that allow us to really look under the hood and get to the limit. And I think
Yeah.
in combination with sports, I think not just mountain biking, but any kind of sport where you really get sweaty and where you really reach your limits. It's like I love to go jogging, for example, and
Yeah.
I constantly train for that. So every time I
Yeah.
run, I push myself a little bit further. Of course, I have days where I run a little bit less to have a good balance in the body. But on those days where I do long runs, that's usually a lot of transformation inside as well.
Mhm.
And you know that
Absolutely.
that reminds me of an interesting story. I don't know where I heard it, but there was um, there was like a coaching a mindset group climbing up a
Mhm.
hill, and a group of trained athletes, like not athletes because they have a lot of mindset aspects in their training as well, but just
Mhm.
normal like fit people, you could say. And
Yeah.
you know, something amazing happened, that the people who were in that coaching group, who were trained in mindset and cheering themselves on, they all reached the top of the mountain. And the other group, who was where there were many people being physically fit, they didn't all reach the mountain. And
Mm.
I think that shows that there's a lot of mindset, a lot of our inner talk going on when it comes to
Yeah.
achieving something. And
Absolutely.
I find that so
Absolutely.
interesting.
I agree. Love what you just shared. I just love it because I think you're absolutely right. I think it applies, like you said. I love that you said that. It can be in any sport, right? Or really any activity, any life experience. I mean, you look at job transition. You look at 2020, right? Like what we're kind of all going through. There's a lot of these curveballs and like kind of hits coming at us, right? And I think those are, even though sometimes it's like and it's like, oh, I don't want that. That doesn't feel good. I feel like those challenges, when we kind of hit those edges and those limits, really offer us an opportunity for growth and transformation, and to really look at that mindset piece. Because I mean, that's been such the probably the most transformational part of my journey of starting my own business, from going, from being a teacher to like diving into this whole new endeavor. And I realized, like, wow, there was so much that I had to work through in my own mind, right? And just breaking through fears, like feeling the terror and just doing it anyway. And I think that that's like anything, right? Anything new, anything that's different, like getting outside of our comfort zone, I guess, right? Whether that's in sports and life and our careers, all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really beautiful. This being a human is, whew, it's a big job.
It is,
But I think,
and talking of
yeah.
the beauty, I mean, in the beauty of the mountains, where you really connect with nature, how do you usually see or feel when somebody gets to that point of transformation?
Oh, it's the coolest thing to witness, right? I mean, it's a process. And I think what I love so much about it is that, I can, at 42, I feel like I've had my own journey. I've got, as we all do, right? We've got all of our stories and our, experiences that we've been through. And so I feel like for me, when I am witnessing somebody that's really getting to their limits, number one, it's like, I mean, the first thing that comes is compassion. It's like, oh my God, I know what it's like. I know, I've been there, right? So it's really, for me, I love I love just kind of holding people's hands and walking them through it, right? And just listening, to a degree, and then starting to kind of really help them start to shift. Because I think there's a fine line when we're really pushed to our limit, when we're pushed to our edge. We can go down that rabbit hole, right? And go down that dark hole and go into some of those stories that aren't serving us and stay there and feel really crappy.
Mhm.
And that's where I think, yeah, you have to feel it. You've got to be in it and you've got to acknowledge it. And then there comes kind of that point of like, okay, that's enough. Like, now what are we going to do with this, right? And what do you really want? I think that's the question of like, how is that serving you? Is that serving you? And if not, let's figure out a way. Let's figure out a different story, different, how you're talking to yourself, how you're really working through that. And that's what I love, supporting people through, whether it's on the bike or, you know, through coaching or just conversation with people. I think it's a really, really powerful, experience. And it's, the beauty of it that I like also is it's never the same, right? Everybody's different in how we move through it. So I guess I like that too, in a sense, that's a challenge as well, right? It's like, how do you meet somebody where they are and have love and compassion and grace and everything for them, and then find that sweet spot of really kind of helping them like pivot and get to the other side of it. And so when that starts to happen and when I witness that, it's just the coolest thing ever. I just love it.
And it's a wonderful question to ask yourself, is that thought or belief or feeling really serving me? And if not, what shall we do? And
Exactly.
that's something where you can check on yourself every day. Like when the thoughts, like in challenging situations, when you think, oh, I can't do it, or I was not born to do that, or I'm just too weak, or I'm just not good enough, whatever comes up in such a situation when you get to your limits, I think that's where you can start to work on yourself and start to shift your perspective as well. And I really like asking questions, because sometimes we don't immediately see the solution, especially if we carried around like a belief or a pattern for many years. We don't see the way out or how it could be in a better way. But when we start asking ourselves questions, that is when we can get valuable answers. Because,
Absolutely.
our subconsciousness is wired so it always answers our questions. And then either we get the answer right away, or it takes a few hours or a few days. There must be a lot of transformation going on that trip. I mean, you go out in the mountains for how many hours? Like 2 or 3 hours, or a whole day?
Yeah, each trip kind of depends, and every day is a little bit different. But on average, I would say we're probably 4 or 5 hours on
Wow,
bikes.
cool.
And Peru is a little bit different than Mexico, and it depends. In Mexico, we do kind of we also have like a little. I love to build those connections with culture and tradition. So we do the Dia de los Muertos celebration. So it's kind of a nice mix of mountain bike, but then we get some cultural like city festival time too. So it's a little split. So there's a pretty wide variety of things that we're doing. But yeah, those days on the bike, usually, about 4 to 5 hours we're out there. So, and I mean, my thing too, that's so important on these trips is that it's about building the community with with the women. Like, we support each other. It's not about like a get on the bike and just hammer and kill yourself and get to the end, right? It's about enjoying the journey. It's about supporting each other when we hit those limits. It's about having fun. It's about enjoying beauty. It's about we stop and take pictures and eat snacks, and it's not like a total charge fest. So I that was actually part of the reason I created my company, because for so many years when I first moved to Colorado and I started getting into, all these sports, these extreme sports out here, the skiing and the biking and there's a culture around it. And I think I fell trap a little bit to that, like, oh my God, I've got to be fast. I have to, it came from lack though. It was like this, I mean, that was my own gremlin, right? Of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not feeling, I mean, I had to go through all of this work, on my own to kind of get to where I'm at now. And they still visit, right? But they're just, I don't let them win anymore.
That's
And
great.
so for me, yeah, I had a really big shift. For many years, almost, I look back and I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't feel like I was really enjoying the sport for what it actually brought to my life, just to be in the mountains and like, oh my God, taking the views and the beauty and the magic of this world and this life, right? I mean, I got so heady sometimes of like, oh, I gotta keep up, I gotta be fast, I gotta blah, 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 So when I started my company, it was like, I don't want it to be like that. I don't want that pressure. I mean, I feel like that's what, especially as women, I think it's so important that we we break through that BS, right? Kind of those voices, and just find that love and acceptance of like, I'm enough, and and here's why I'm doing this. Like it fills my soul. So
yeah,
it's another goal.
I just recorded a video like half an hour ago, and I was kind of procrastinating on it for 2 or 3 weeks even. And usually I just do a video and then that's it. So I was just collecting a few thoughts and what should I say, and then I took, I think, 2 re-records. So and then I thought I was just in a loving way. I thought, wow, that's such a nice video. I mean, there's always room for improvement. We can always improve when it comes to our physical abilities, or when we do a video or do something in our business or family life. But sometimes just getting it out and just being accepting and loving of yourself, that's so much more helpful than like being like a nitpicker and then, oh no, this I could do better and this here and so.
Absolutely. Oh, I love what you just shared. It's so true. I really appreciate you sharing that. I think so many of us do that. We get this, like, it's like we sabotage things because we think it has to be perfect, or we can't put it out there. Because we're judgmental or critical of ourselves. And so I love that you highlighted that. I think that's really, it's so important to just give ourselves that credit, there's room for growth always, but you know what? It's like that perfectly perfect, right?
Yeah, that's it. And I also like your perspective on it's kind of smelling the roses along the way and really enjoying what you're doing. I mean, if you have different things to do during the day, if you do your exercise daily and then your work and your family or social life, you can also ask yourself, am I really enjoying this? Or do I just do like one thing after the other and then ask myself, okay, what's next? What's next?
Yeah.
Am I really thoroughly enjoying it, or am I just functioning in that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like the autopilot, right? I think that was that's perfect to bring up too, because I think along with getting to those limits in life and on the bike, I think sometimes when we set out to do things in whatever area of our lives it is, it's like a mountain, right? We see the top, and that's where we want to go. And I think when you get too hyper focused on the destination, and you're going along, it's like there's all this beautiful stuff along the way, the journey, right? That it's there to be appreciated as well. And sometimes if we're just kind of like that autopilot and just firing away, like you said, we're not even really present in it and appreciating what it has to offer us. And I think along with that too, it's like, I know for me personally, the last couple of years, it's like when I have really taken the time to align with my values, just what's important to me, that and then start make decisions from that place. I know for me it's been really powerful, because then it's like there's a connection, there's an alignment to what I'm doing. It's important to me, and I make decisions, and it's I don't know, I feel like it's just it's helped me live more powerfully and empowered, of like really bringing more meaning to my life, instead of just like, if you get invitations or you get a job offer or something like that, and just taking it to like, oh, I need a job, okay, or whatever, or like, oh yeah, I want to be with people, so I'll go do this. But is it really what you want to do? I think that's another kind of piece to this puzzle, that when we think about like intentional living and just that evolution, it really helps. It just kind of helps smooth things out when we're clear on what we want in life.
Yeah, and also clear on what we don't want. I think especially as female entrepreneur, I think men often probably have a lot more clarity in their business. They go about it in a different way. But us women, we often take on so many projects at the same time, and we are not
Yeah.
able to say no and really align with our values. And
Yeah.
here is where asking questions can come in as well, and really asking yourself, does that one align with my values? And how much
Mm-hmm.
time does it take up? And how much value can I bring with this project into the world? And
Oh,
that's so
absolutely.
important as
Yeah,
well, I think.
it is. And I think that with a powerful mindset, and like being very, building that awareness on what we were talking about of that, what's under the hood, what are those little gremlins that play. I think when you really start to bring attention to that, and again, it's like you start to just sort of weed it out almost, right? Of like, okay, is this serving me for what I really want? And you can start to weed out those gremlins that aren't serving you, and shift and reprogram and tell yourself a new story. It's like, whoa, get ready. That's where the magic happens, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you can apply that really to every area of your life. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I have a little vision card, and every time I
Mm-hmm.
make a choice, and even like the tiniest choices, do I get that dessert, or do I eat something healthy? Do I work out, or do I just stay at home? Then sometimes I look at my vision card, or just remind myself of my vision and where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
I
ask
love
myself, will that really bring me closer to that vision? Will it
that.
serve me in a bigger way? And
That's beautiful.
that's like a daily practice you can do with that question as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. Yeah. I love that. That's kind of it sounds like it helps you stay kind of connected to that vision, and really on that trajectory. So that's really beautiful.
Yeah, what I really like as well is that even though like you get women to their limits, you also look after that they have fun and that they really enjoy the process. I find that so important. I mean, when you grow,
Mm-hmm.
when you transcend yourself, then it can be a hard time, but when you allow it to be
Yeah.
fun and to be in a pleasant way, that's so
Yeah.
much lighter and so much easier to transform.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. I mean, we got to have some lightness and humor and fun around it, right? Because
Definitely.
it can be really heavy. So absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the part, the combination with the travel piece as well. It's like, I mean, what I love so much about that is, God, you get into a place. If it's, I love witnessing the first time when these ladies, bringing them to a place, right? That is just so special to me, and to witness the awe, right? And just like when you get into a new place and your senses are just ignited, right? Because everything's new, and it's so outside of what you're used to. I just feel like it's a really natural and organic way to open up in a different way. I mean,
Mhm.
you can open up or close, but oftentimes most people that are excited about something like this, it's just an opening, and it's a different way of showing up in the world. In fact, I just have to share, I have a good friend of mine who's come on 2 of my trips, so I know her in her element, right, in the hometown and her work and everything, and getting her into another country on bikes, this woman, oh my God, to just witness her like opening in a different way and seeing this whole other side of her. Like, I mean, that's just one little example, and that was my own experience when I lived abroad for a couple years. It was exactly what happened to me, and what really drove me to do this. And just in witnessing it, it's the coolest thing. It's just a constant, like, oh my God, here we go. Just
That's so
watching people.
cool. That's what I
Yeah,
like
it's really,
about traveling as well. You get
yeah,
into not just a different physical place, but also a different energy. You know, when you're always in your same routine, in the same places, nothing really
yeah,
changes. But the moment you get out, and even if just for a week or a few days, your
yeah,
energy completely shifts as well. And that's
Absolutely.
why I love
Yeah.
traveling as well, and especially traveling to places with a good energy, places in nature, and
Mm-hmm.
like Hawaii, for example, that's one of my absolute favorite places. And
Oh,
you know,
awesome.
every travel experience kind of transforms you, and you get into it and just feel normal, and then you
Mm-hmm.
find yourself in the middle of it, in the middle of
Yeah.
transformation as well, and afterwards you feel like a completely new human being. It's
Totally.
so amazing.
Totally. I love that you experience that as well, Francis. It's so wonderful. And I don't know about you, but I feel like even if I go back to the same places, it's different, right?
Yeah, every
It's
time.
always different. And then, like you said, you come home and it's like, oh my God, it, everything, it changes and it's really powerful. It's really powerful.
And what I also really like when you get out of your home and out of your comfort zone, you don't worry about the little things too much. It's like
Yeah.
when I'm at home for a few weeks in a row, I start to get in the little things like, oh, I have to clean this, I have to do that, and I find that, for example, my neighbor is an old lady, and she almost always is home, and I go traveling and seeing places, and she looks after my plants, and
Oh.
and then I see how small the world is she lives in, very much. You know, I kind of look at the bigger picture of things and what can I do today to really move things forward. And
Yeah.
what's important to her, for example, is, oh, did you clean the stairs all right, for example?
Right.
And I think especially as women, we can get caught up in these little things and trying to make our surroundings perfect and our home perfect and everything. And when we start to travel, these things kind of get into the background, and we start to live in the more important things. I mean, of course, for
Absolutely.
each person, different things are important,
Yeah.
and it's good to
Mm-hmm.
have a nice home as well. But you know what I mean with those little things. Sometimes we
Oh,
keep ourselves really busy with that, and then at the end of the day, we've been busy all day and haven't really moved something forward. Do you find the same
right.
when you go traveling?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, same, for me. And I think too, as women, it can be a focus on our external world of, like you said, our house, or it can be on even like your physical, appearance and like just, you know, maintaining yourself in a certain way that's so it can be rigid, right? So, oh yeah, I mean, I personally am drawn to travel for that very same reason of just like, okay, what is really important? And like, what I always appreciated is, I feel like I have had a very privileged life, and I always, when I go to different places and see different ways of life and how people live, and just I notice for me too, like it's like I always come back with a sense of just appreciation for what I have, and an appreciation to see how other people live. I'll just give a little example. There's a place that in Oaxaca that we go to, these little indigenous villages, and it's just such a simplified way of life and so basic. And oh my God, I mean, there's a part of me that's like, I want to just leave my life behind and I want to just move down there because I'm like, this is the way. Like, the people are so connected to the land and to the spirituality and like what the bigger things in life, right? Like, I should say the bigger but more simple things in life of just enjoying life, right? So I think for me, it's like it's an experience that brings so much appreciation, not only for what I have, but for how other people live, and just seeing that it doesn't have to be one way. One way is not right for everybody. And I think we can fall trapped to the societal pressures and views and things like that. And I think travel, again, offers us, another way to look at the world and just a different lens and perspective, and to foster that appreciation and gratitude. And I don't know, I think that's a really another beautiful part of the transformation of travel.
Yeah, definitely. And you see it all through your own eyes and not through other people's eyes. I mean, because sometimes you hear different things about other cultures, about other countries, and when
Mm-hmm.
especially when you've lived there for some time. I
Yeah.
lived in different places throughout my life as well, like places
Mm-hmm.
like New York and South America and in the UK and Spain, like all these
Yeah.
different places. And
Yeah.
even though you could say, okay, here in Europe, you are kind of
Mm-hmm.
neighbors, it must be the same to live there. But even then, you have
Yeah.
different habits, different customs, and you can kind
Mm-hmm.
of pick the best of everything, and that
Mm-hmm.
way have a completely balanced lifestyle, a life you really enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Just fascinated by different cultures and ways of life and languages and colors and all of it. It just it truly, it's like one of those things that just goes to my core and just lights up my spirit.
So cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So where can people find you online? They want to join
Yes.
you on these trips or get some inspiration, advice from you,
Mhm.
or maybe just take a look at what you do, a closer look.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple different ways. So, number one, I do have a website, womensradicalpursuits.com, that gives an overview of all the offerings, and just kind of all of what we're about. I will say right now, I do have my trips on pause until kind of looking at a little bit later winter 2021, starting hopefully spring 2021 for sure.
Hopefully.
But that is, yeah, I know, hopefully, but just kind of surrendering to what is. And I also offer coaching. I do a lot with the mindset coaching. I've got a program from BS to badass. So that's another thing that you can find on the website. And then also for just, more inspiration, I do a lot of inspirational posts and things like that, just motivation. I do have Facebook and Instagram at Women's Radical Pursuits is another way to stay kind of in the loop of what we've got going on. So
That's so cool. Thank you so much for
yeah.
sharing.
Yeah,
And
thank you, Francis. This has been so wonderful. Such a lovely way to start the day.
definitely, or almost to end the day. No,
I was just,
I usually
yeah.
do videos in the evening. It's almost 6 p.m. here right now, and I have a
Wow.
training coming up. So it's yeah, the evenings are always a little bit different. Usually doing trainings, and yeah, you can everyone watching, you can find me on my website livefragrantly.com. I do a lot about wellness and how you can relax in your everyday life and sleep better and just feel better. And
Oh,
also on my
awesome.
YouTube channel, when you just type in my name, Francis Herdis, this is where this video will go afterwards as well because it's such a great inspiration. I mean, I love to travel. I love being active and keeping fit and also growing as a person and combining all these things. That's what I find fascinating. So thank you
Absolutely.
so much for sharing, Amy.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I found my soul sister. It's the same things that just really light me up too. So this is a really beautiful connection, and I just have really enjoyed this. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there something, some inspiration or advice or something you wish to leave us with?
Hmm. I guess probably the biggest thing, especially for anybody kind of new to this whole, mindset thing and really exploring your limits, I would just say, number one, the starting point is just awareness. And in that awareness, I would offer just to give yourself oceans of love and compassion and just grace for what comes up, right? Because, it's in the beginning when you start, it can be like, I don't want to look at that. It's because it might not feel all soft and fuzzy, right? It might be a little prickly to begin. So I just always encourage people, just it just starts with awareness, you know. And also one thing I really love is, it's I can't remember the quote or who says it, but you know, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to take the first step. So, you know, whether that's exploring these limits, you know, whether that's starting to dive into mindset work, or, you know, what you want to do with your life, you don't have to have the whole staircase in view and the whole plan ready. You just gotta just take this first step and begin.
So great. Just start with it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And traveling can be a great way, and being with like-minded people as well, because then you get to know different perspectives and different ways to deal with situations as well. Well, thank
Absolutely.
you so much, and
Yeah,
um, have
thank you.
fun with these inspirations, everyone, and happy implementing. And let us know how you work with these questions, with these inspirations. Just drop a comment here. And yeah, I wish you a happy day wherever you are.
Same. Thank you.